You're listening to WLFE Digital Broadcast Radio in Ontario, New York.
Real Talk with Dom. It's a new spin on variety. Dom's created a show that puts his guests in the spotlight. Whether you're a musician, a poet, wrestler, or merch creator, he gives you the opportunity to promote you. Real Talk with Dom is a real no-nonsense show. Don is down-to-earth, critically truthful, and real as it gets. So if you're looking for a standalone, think outside the box kind of a show, then Real Talk with Dom is a show for you. Mondays at 10 p.m. Eastern.
Genevieve.
Hello.
You're here on a Monday night, 10 p.m. Eastern on WLFE-DB.com. Real Talk with Dom. We are here. We are now. How you doing tonight, sis?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm here. We actually, one of my good friends is on. I've known her for a couple years now. She's running the Mysterious Adventure Tours, which we're going to dive into. We also have a special guest with her tonight, who is actually one of the hosts of the tours. So it will be great, and we're going to go into a ton of information about it. So without further ado, as we say,
let's go.
Indeed. Maria?
Hi, how are you? Hi,
How are you?
Genevieve. Hi, Dom. Nice to meet
Indeed.
you. Thank you so much for
Nice to
having
meet
me
you.
on. Yes.
We love it. All right, so we're just going to bring in our second guest as well. So we're all just in this together now. Welcome, Courtney. Explain to everyone. Well, let's start with as we go here. Maria, you do have a project here, and then let's go into this. What do we got?
Well, we got something that I started way before COVID even was a threat to us, and I've been actually in the paranormal, supernatural world for about 8 years, and I started a catalog website called Haunted Journeys, and that Haunted Journeys, it just basically was a directory for everything that was haunted. So haunted inns, haunted hotels, ghost tours, paranormal events, etc. And so I created this thing that I just kept adding to it. And I did it because, if you recall, Dominic, we used to manage the Seven Sisters Inn.
I do.
Very notoriously haunted. Been on Ghost Hunters. That was a bed and breakfast. And we understood the pressures and some of the obstacles involved in historical buildings, especially as bed and breakfasts and inns, competing against the big box hotels. So I felt like we needed a place to show off and yet be kind of discreet for those people that didn't like ghosts, that still wanted to stay in our inn. So we started Haunted Journeys. That was my impetus. And from there, I gathered lots of locations, etc. And I said, I saw these events, these one-night events, and I'm seeing the ghost tours all over the nation. But what I'm not seeing is that haunted getaway done well.
Right.
And, because they take a lot of work. So I partnered with someone that was a counselor for me for many months. We're no longer working together. We're okay with that. But what we created was this touring agency, this travel organization that offers anywhere from 4 to 10 day getaways to different places in the world that were haunted or just supernaturally tinged. Some of them are more affected with UFOs. Some of them are more affected with, with creatures of the night or even leprechauns or whatever. So each one has their own little niches. And that's what I wanted. I didn't want I did not want to duplicate throughout the year all these Halloween tours that were typically offered only in October. I wanted to go beyond that. I wanted to be enriched with history, enriched with the legends, and the cultures of the places that we went to. And I think we got a good grab. Darn it, COVID came in, and everything we had to lift in 2021 and shift it to 22. Now, the UK has been a little bit difficult to deal with because we do have tours in Scotland,
Hmm.
Wales, and Ireland, and even Transylvania.
Right.
But they're still a little bit behind the USA COVID management and travel restrictions. So we decided to concentrate in the States. We've got plenty of haunts here, and we're hitting some of the biggest names of the haunted industry and the haunted location industry in the United States, such as Gettysburg, Tombstone, New Orleans, and we're going to be launching those off in 2021. So let's give America a try, and we're really happy bringing in that domestic fringe.
I have a good buddy too, Taryn Kerper. She runs the Paranormal Brew. She absolutely loves Gettysburg. She lives and breathes it. So I'm sure she would 100% go on that one.
Perfect.
We need
Now,
to talk
before
about
we
the
move on
Jersey
a
Shore
little
being
bit.
haunted.
Oh yeah.
We'll have to talk about that at some point tonight.
Which one?
Yeah.
The Jersey Shore.
Oh God.
What she runs.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be. There's so much out there that we
There
can
is.
do, and it's the temptation is always there. Like, let's do a new tour here. Let's do this. Somebody that wants to bring in their following, they'll call me and say, "Can we do a tour in Peru?" I said, "Well, not this year. We're doing good right now. We have to have a plan, execution, and make sure what we do is it's viable and done well." So that's where we are right now. But talking about Gettysburg,
Yeah.
that's our very, very first launch it
Right.
domestically, and internationally it's going to be Courtney is going to be doing the very first on the international. So she's my guinea pig. She'll be doing domestic and international. But what a treat, because I'll let her explain, if that's okay,
Yeah, no, it's time.
what her specialty is,
For
because
sure.
it's amazing, Yes.
So, my name is Courtney. I am the owner of Seaside Shadows Haunted History Tours in Mystic, Connecticut, which, is, the ghost tour of that region. But when I started doing those tours and working on books for that area, I really fell in love with a lot of the stories of the soldiers that had passed away and these battlefields that they had been on. And when I was in college, I studied abroad in Ireland and really fell in love with the Irish rebel history and my ancestry with Irish and Scottish rebels. And that combined with all of the soldiers I was studying kind of made it, my specialty was to study, hauntings as they relate to wartime and rebels domestically and abroad. So I wrote a book a few years ago about Revolutionary War ghosts in Connecticut. And then I just finished one now about Civil War ghosts of Connecticut. And it's going to be the first in a series about Civil War ghosts from each state at different haunted sites. And I'm also, a big aficionado, like I mentioned, and studier of the Irish battles and Scottish battles. So when I saw that Maria was creating these amazing tours, I knew that they were going to be a perfect match. And her and I talked and hit it off right away. We can finish each other's sentences.
Yes.
And that's
Not
how,
many people can do that, by the way.
and that's how we knew it was a really good fit. And we talked about, how much history, but also, spiritual element there is to finding, these battlefields and sort of unearthing these tales of who was there and what they sacrificed for, and relating that to the paranormal activity that's so popular there. So we're going to start off this year going to a few battlefields: Gettysburg, Antietam, Chancellorsville, this kind of like haunted area in, the mid-Atlantic and, just getting into the Southeast. And then in April, we're going to make our way over across the pond and take that theme and bring it to all of the Irish wars for independence and their Civil War as well.
Now, is there certain topics you're going to hit when you go to Gettysburg? Like, there was so much that went on, the energy within the history of the battles and the specifics of certain hauntings that are going to happen. How much research do you have to do, and how do you really pick the hot spots that you is just going to change somebody on this tour?
Yeah. So the way I kind of decide what hotspots are is based partially on my own investigations and time there, but also on what's been reported and what's been reported for the longest. So I like to read, what are the first ghost stories? And it turns out people were reporting ghost stories on, day 2 of the battle. They were starting to see the people that died on day 1. And how do those match to what people are seeing today? And sometimes I find that the most compelling is taking those historical ghost stories and saying, if people are seeing the same thing 150 years later, what does that mean, right? So there's a lot of, those places that are going to lead you to hot spots, but it's also just, you can kind of get the sense where a lot of people died, and then you're going to read about it and you're going to find out, yep, this is where they were all buried. This is where they're still finding people. No wonder this is such an active hot spot. We're probably going to tackle a lot of it chronologically, but spend a lot of the investigating time in the places like, the wheat field or the Devil's Den and Pickett's Charge, where that energy is really just almost like reliving itself again and again.
Love it.
And I think Courtney isn't being completely I don't want to say honest because it sounds like you're deceiving us, but she's very humble about her gift. She is a physical medium, so she can actually see them. And they tell them that she hears their story as she's there. And that's better than any history book that could ever do.
And see, that's so,
you're getting it from the source.
Yeah. I mean, and I like to, I like to make sure that they really match, right? So I get these impressions and I'll make sure, I record or write down what I see, what they look like, where I am, and what they say. But part of the rush for me as a medium is I can say that all day long, but it doesn't mean anything unless I can prove it. So that's why I like to go back and say, okay, there was a man that looked like this around this age who was there. And I really work to, extract those stories. And the way I do what I do, which is I think where the medium part helps, is to connect people to history and the paranormal is to tell the stories of people, right? So it's really about introducing you to who these folks were, what was important to them, what their family life was like, why they matter. And then we follow their story through this journey and we meet them in a sense.
We love it.
So do you research beforehand?
Sorry?
Or do you do any background historical research beforehand, or do you like to go in with like a clean slate?
It depends. For something like Gettysburg, I'm definitely going to get the broad strokes. And then I went in, so I wanted to know what happened. What were the actions on the 3 days? What am I looking at? What brings them here? What happened before? What happened after? And now that I have the context, I want to go through the fields, see what I get and where, and then I'm going to go back and get those details. Okay, so I knew that the wheat field was on day 2. I knew it was important, but why did I feel so much there? Oh, because they were absolutely massacred, in that field for 2 hours and they were just obliterated by snipers. Now I know why I felt something in that tree line. Mm-hmm. That's where the shots were coming from. One of the most exciting moments I think I had investigating a battlefield was kind of a nerdy moment, but we were on the battlefield and we were trying to connect with this general. We're in Antietam. And I said, where were you shot from, to the spirit? Because I don't know. All I know is he was shot, right? And he says, to your left in an EVP on the SB7. And I thought, interesting. And I'm looking around and I can see a wood line. And then I went to a local historical society that housed all his personal records months later. And they had on there this whole account from the people that were with him when he died, saying his last orders were telling everyone to go to the left where the enemy was. Those were his last words. Now, I would have had no way of knowing that, but he told us that, which was just, that gave me chills when that happened.
There's got to be some kind of records.
Yeah.
I got a couple questions here, and Genevieve, I know you've got probably a ton as well, even for Gettysburg itself. Now, when it comes down to, these trips, let's start with the ghost hunting part. what's the participation level of the guests that will be there? Will they have their own equipment? Are you guys going to provide them with equipment, or is it going to be kind of singled out? Because with the more people asking questions like on an EVP, you could pretty much like debunk that right away because of all the static of all the other voices. How are you
We
guys
don't,
going to conduct
yeah,
these?
we don't have they're not small, but they're not large. Your typical tour group that goes to Ireland, for instance, is between 60 and 100 participants. We've got 24. So
Okay.
we've already minimized that. We're going to be working them very closely. These are some of the rules for those that are not experienced in this. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just like we do. I mean, Courtney does it every day with her tours. She explains some of the etiquette and some of the practices that you do for enhanced ghost hunting. As far as equipment, if they want to bring their own equipment, it's fine. We will have our own there as well.
Right.
But I don't like the real big sexy gadgets. I think I like to rely more on perception and
Right.
sensory stimulation, whether it's a digital recording or I'm not even fond of EVP of the K2 meters, because K2 meters, yeah, they tell you there's something around with energy,
Yeah.
but that could be the dog that just farted. So we don't know, I mean, and I'm being a little sarcastic
Well,
here, but there's
no,
no
you're not. I
but
agree with you.
there's no theory or proven logic behind the KT meter and measuring
Right.
energy connected to the paranormal.
Well,
But you cannot discredit a true voice that you've captured
mhm.
that nobody else heard, of a different voice or
Right.
whatever it is. So you can. It's not 100% validation. I trust more on a good light worker, on a good metaphysical agent,
Right.
one that I trust. And Courtney is absolutely up there. And I know if she tells us there's a guy with a red coat hanging out there with a gun, I'm going to be careful,
And
if
well,
he
you know how
pulls
I
a trigger.
investigate myself. Like when I was at your establishment here in
Mhm.
Ocala, and then the other one as well that I've never really mentioned it anymore. I could because but I do want to say I know you do pay attention to detail and everything you do, because I do remember the bed and breakfast of each room, how it was amazingly situated. Now, however, I'm glad you said that was off the subject. That was in my head from earlier. I do believe you when it comes down to just keeping the metaphysical part, as far as like Courtney seeing and stuff like that. That keeps the mystery back in the tour, because the way I feel, I don't believe in a lot of those gadgets. I mean, I like the EVP and stuff like that, but the SLS, things like that, I'm like, you know what? There's no proven fact there, and I love the way you ladies are doing this, because you're bringing the essence of the mystery back, and the history as well. So you're giving a learning experiment, and you're keeping it a little bit like, shit, did I just experience something? You know what I mean?
And that's really interesting to me too, because I do own a ghost tour company, and I'm really about the romance and the story behind it. So this and we do run some tours with gadgets and things, just like, if people are interested, but I find that they kind of take people out of the situation, and they take them out of the story. So it's hard to kind of perpetuate that mystery and that air that you want to have when you're telling a good story. So
I
I see the
I love.
benefits to both, but as a storyteller, I love to have the actual
I
story.
was gonna say you kind of relate to that, Genevieve, right? With what you do,
Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
know. And there is a question at the bottom here from our good friend Steve Barry. Hardest question: what type of energy could you measure, and at what level would be proof, if definable at all? Does any of you ladies want to chime in on that one?
Oh, I am not a ghost hunter.
Mm-hmm.
I like to consider myself a ghost hunter collector, but I am not. I'm not going to go by there. I'm just telling you my opinion and how I feel as an outsider with some of the discrepancies I've seen out there. So, but I have absolutely no authority on the gadgets
Right.
or the tools used. I'll let Courtney because I think she's better prepared for this as a metaphysical worker, because you can compare to what things have lighting up with things
Yeah.
that you actually see, right?
Yeah.
Experience. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's a sense of validation, right, between the equipment and the mediumship and then the facts. So it's kind of like this perfect storm to make sure that things relate. So if the EMF detector is just going off somewhere, but I'm not sensing anything and nothing else is happening, maybe, I'm near, some electrical lines or something like this. There's not, anything to be said. But if I all of a sudden, and this happened at Gettysburg earlier this year, it's like I felt a grab on my leg, right? So I felt that at this moment that all of a sudden I heard a voice in the distance that the other people with me could audibly hear, even though we were alone. So that's okay. That's a little bit of evidence, right? And we know we're in a haunted spot, but we did have our K2 meter out. And at the moment that we heard the voice and I felt my leg being grabbed, which is my physical sensation, that's when the EMF lit up. So for me, that's, a wonderful trifecta. But I feel like there does, like I mentioned with that story of the general at Antietam before, okay, that voice is really great evidence. But when we found out that those were his last words, that's proof, right? That's your, I can't question that anymore. That's why it gives you chills. You're like, oh, it's creepy enough that he's answering the question. But then when you find out that historically that's what he said, there you go.
Yeah, once continuity is there and you get those answers in proof, there's almost no denying it. And I understand that.
And there's tours. Usually on my tours, we only do paranormal investigations at the end or as an add-on because, like Genevieve was saying, for the tours and the storytelling, it's really important to get that out first so that people aren't running around with an EMF detector and they don't know who they're talking to or what they're doing. But sometimes I do let them take pictures throughout the tour. And there will be times where they will aim their camera in the graveyard where no living person is and a person will show up. That's kind of the old school investigating, but that's proof, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would say so.
That's the best.
There's Ted. He's in there. He says hello. I don't know if Marie can hear us just yet, but Ted's up in the chats. Genevieve, anything you want to chime in on that before I jump into the second question I was going to have, and that's this is dealing more with the local standpoint of it. I was going to jump into next.
I agree. Like I love what you're doing. I think it's so cool, and definitely have to get to Mystic to check out your tours because it's not too far from New Jersey.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Sure. Well, Maria and Courtney, chime in on this one. Let's figure out how to get a hold of you guys, even though it's going across the bottom. It's easier being said, like the process of jumping on these tours and stuff like that. Just all the information as much as possible.
Well, that's probably the best way to go is mysteriousAdventuretours.com. And you'll see them all listed there. And I know Ted Van Son is on the chat group. He's got a tour for the summer solstice in June of next year. Yeah. And if anybody wants to do Ireland, the summer solstice is definitely a fabulous time to go because there's a lot of megalithic structures that are built around the changing of the seasons of both the winter and the summer solstice. So these people that were out there, 7,000 years ago doing these things, they were a heck of a lot smarter and telling time than we were. So when they built these stones or how these stones were, you wonder, is there ufology involved? What was involved? Because it's just, it's a challenge for us today to move, 40 gigantic structures, let alone put them to the sun, the circumference of the sun and the radius of the sun. Who built these things and how did they do it? So there's so many mysteries involved with that, not just on the supernatural end, but also the ufology end. So there's a lot of things, and Ted is gonna be tackling that little puppy for us in June. But we have other tours that go to Wales and Scotland. they're just magical, and hopefully I can bring them on your program and introduce them and some of the stories
That's
involved.
the
But yes.
That's the absolute plan, because I plan on utilizing the mystery adventure tours, because I believe in it so much, and you've made me a part of it in the back as far as advertising you guys, and I think this is great
Thank
because it's
you.
new.
Thank you.
You know
Yes,
it.
and I want to make sure that we don't forget about the tour that got us started with Courtney, and that's the Irish battlefields and the
Right.
rebels. Let me tell you, it makes Gettysburg look like nothing compared to what the Irish have gone through and still are going through. Is just incredible. And you talk about patriotic passion and how they died is just incredible. So we're going to be there the Easter weekend next year. We're in the east, help me out, Courtney,
Easter Rising of 1916.
Thank you. I said, I was going to say the risen Easter, and I said, that doesn't sound right. So the Easter Rising, see, she's a historian. I'm just a show and teller. But the Easter Rising is the bloodshed, but there was more bloodshed prior to that, because there was many, many battles that we, of course, know about the Easter Rising. There were so many battles there. So we're going to go into some pretty creepy places, castles, and
what are some of these castles too? Because we're going to dive into that as well. Because there's just so much going on. We're going to talk about all the destinations you're going to. I mean, what are some of these castles and the experiences that you're going to see there?
You want to chime in on that, Courtney?
Sure. So, Maria mentioning the Easter Rising, I think, is one of the most important things to talk about. Of course,
move forward with that one for now.
So, that takes place in Dublin, and if you ask any good Irish person, they'll tell you that the Easter Rising took place after 500 years of oppression and battles. And we're all familiar with, talk about the IRA and everything that happened in the 90s. But, the Irish Republican Army really becomes popular in 1916, right? And that's when all the Irish rebels, start blowing up buildings in Dublin, attacking the English. And that's where we start to hear names like Michael Collins and Eamon de Valera and all these things are coming out in the woodwork. And then there's all the Easter Rising men that coordinated it that were executed right in Dublin at Kilmainham Jail. And we're going to be going to Kilmainham Jail, into the houses of some of the masterminds that came up with this idea that they weren't going to take any more crap from the English anymore. And, we kind of follow through that to start off our trip. But then I mentioned those 500 years of oppression. We're going to go back to those battlefields where they, their hearts are in this. They always say the Irish can't let go. So we're going to show you, all these places where they show this fierce independence. They can't. No, they can't. We never forget of anything. And, so we're just going to take you to all these places where having an independent, united Ireland that was its own country is all that defines so many of these people. And we're going to take you to where they kind of left their hearts right there and what they did and that they would execute each other for. Michael Collins obviously gets gunned down in Cork, and we're going to go to where that happened. And Eamon de Valera rises to power. Was he a part of the conspiracy? We're going to talk about all of those things, the Friends and the Irish Civil War that comes. And today there's still a lot of contention about it. We have the hunger strikers in the 90s. There's a lot to be said. Ireland's still not totally free. So we're going to walk people through, all that was accomplished and what's to come, and the spirits that are left behind who are going to linger there till they get what they want. Because like I said, they don't forget.
Right. Now, is there like a museum or something that you guys are going to hit with that you could show these weapons and stuff like that, and so they could kind of see, the history? And because I'm naive to a lot of these stories as well, but those are things that I would love to see and learn, and just you kind of put yourself in that entire atmosphere.
We have the Michael Collins Museum in Cork that we're going to, and History Center, which is going to have a lot as it relates to that. And then there's a lot in Dublin as it relates to the Easter Rising, including Kilmainham Jail. But we're also going to the Irish Famine House, which is going to house a lot of artifacts. And you think, oh, what does the famine have to do with anything? The famine wouldn't have happened if the English weren't oppressing them and making them poor and taking their food. So that's where all of the battles go to. And
it's
so
the root cause. Yes, the root cause. And some of the cemeteries that some of these patriots are buried in.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be doing a couple of those in Dublin.
Yeah, we're going to visit a lot of them, and
it's busy. We're busy.
Yeah.
It's a busy tour.
And where they're executed, I can tell you, is possibly one of the most haunted spots I've ever been to in my whole life. It's been years, but you go to the back of the jail and there's a cross where all of these men were shot. And it's just one very humble cross, but you start crying when you see it, even if you don't know what happened. There's just so much power from the spirits there. And it's creepy, but it's also moving.
Yeah. It's very sacred, right? Very sacred.
Oh yeah. I mean, these are heroes there, and for the people in Ireland, it's almost still raw. Like they knew them all personally and still remember.
I want to go.
Is there, I may not say this right, this may not make any sense, but before you go on any of these battlefields, to activate things, and is there any kind of rituals you'll be doing, and maybe kind of like old school traditional style, just kind of to activate the area and stuff like that? Are you gonna show and educate or anything? Does that kind of make sense? I'm trying to figure out that question.
Yeah, almost like kind of letting the spirits know we're there to communicate with them type thing.
Wake the dead.
That?
Yeah. So, I mean, I do always feel like you catch more flies with honey. So I've always gone about immersing myself in the way that something was. So I usually like to dress similar to the time or the area, because sometimes I think that maybe that will draw them out a little bit if I look familiar.
Yeah.
That happened to me in Scotland. I wore this big, tartan thing, but then a lot of ghosts started following me, so I changed into modern clothes. And I was on a battlefield then too, and I kept getting like touched on my shoulder, and I was like, okay, we're gonna have to change.
Right.
But I usually like to do that to draw attention, or sometimes speak to them in their language. There's a French Canadian family in a graveyard where I investigate, and I'm not fluent in French, but I know a little bit, so I'll usually try to tell them in French that I want to talk to them. And I talk to spirits like they're people. I wouldn't walk into someone's house and just start asking them questions. I'd let them know that I was there and why I'm there and who's with me, and ask if, we can have a conversation, and tell them I want to know about them. So I usually coach people through like introducing ourselves to who's there, so they feel comfortable coming forward to talk to us.
I think that's really important, because you see a lot of people going in and just like demanding communication. And I think it's so important to just be polite and have some ghost etiquette.
Yeah. Speak to them in their language and try to understand their time. And I tell folks, don't go in there. So many people just want to go on a ghost hunt and say, show me your presence, or ask like questions. Like I've had people come on ghost hunts and be like, who's going to win the Super Bowl? And I'm like, if we want to talk to ghosts, let's think about who we're talking to. This person lived in the 1700s. You're not going to address them by their first name. They're not going to answer you like so casually. So we're going to speak formally. And I usually kind of go through this process of telling people how folks communicated back then, so that they can have an option to, be polite. And then that's when we get the responses. That's when you get the answers.
I love that you said that, like, people ask who's going to win the Super Bowl. And I'm like, that's why I investigate alone anymore. Things like that are just aggravating.
Right. Or how many times does anybody go to you, Genevieve, and say, show me your presence?
Oh.
I mean, you would just look at them and say, okay, honey,
Sometimes it happens.
I said, what kind of a presence you want me to show you, So it's such a, a demanding, almost intrusive question. Now that I think of it, show us a sign of your presence. Start a conversation. Start talking about them and their history. When I ran the Seven Sisters Inn, my best EVPs is I'm starting to talk And I shared, did you know that Mr. Reinauer was the mayor of the city for 7 years? And
Mm-hmm.
and they started the first fire department in the city. And all of a sudden you start, yes, I did. And all of a sudden you see them validating my story. So they were showing me their presence through their validation.
Yeah.
It's not because I demanded that, but because I engaged with them and I
Right.
made them. And that's where we, after doing all this for so many years and talking about their history and talking about how they engage, is they want to speak their history. And we have a
Mm-hmm.
motto at the Haunted Journeys that says a haunting is history wishing to be heard. And
Yeah.
that's what
I
it
like that.
is.
I love it.
That's what it is.
It's so true. It's giving the spirits a platform to tell their story.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Whether it's bad, right, Courtney, or
Yeah.
good. It could be bad or good.
And nothing's black and white, right? No
Yeah.
person's life is. And I think, what, Maria's also saying is they were alive once, right? We're operating under the theory that these are people that were alive. So why would we suddenly lose our people communication skills once they've died? That's so rude. Just treat them the same way as if they're among us, and they will want to share their story. And that's what we want to hear from them.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Genevieve, you want to chime in on that one? Because I do want to get another question out as far as all these destinations that they're going, including the Gettysburg, Ireland, all that. But do you have anything else you want to chime in on that topic real quick?
It's just great. I mean, I could hear ghost stories every day for the rest of my life and just be happy until I am a ghost story. I mean, that's my thing. But I love that. I love that perspective. I really do. It's so respectful, and it's just, that's one of the things that I try to emphasize, is that I'm trying to keep the memory of these people alive through the stories.
Yeah.
Knowing you, Maria, and I keep going away from the one question I do want to ask. Knowing you, I know that you're going to guarantee one thing, and it's not guaranteed that someone's going to get a paranormal experience, right? Who could ever know that? I guarantee this, that you will leave one of these tours educated. You will have respect for what happened, the history. You're going to go out with knowledge, and you're going to feel good about it. That I know is going to happen.
Yeah.
I hope so. I hope so. And some kind of an experience. We never leave, whether a tour is mystical or not. You always come out with some kind of, an experience that you just can't explain. Whether it's a chill that you got when you went into a building, or whether it's like a feeling of sadness, is, why am I feeling sad here? And it doesn't have to be a ghost tour. Everyone has those experiences because we are all connected to them, whether we want to admit it or not, so the experience will be felt, and we're going to hopefully make that even more enhanced, and so they can see the connection. Whatever, it's I'm so excited because culturally you'll be able to know the difference between ghost hunting in Ireland and the UK, England, or Scotland. Everyone has their own different practices, whereas the Celtic rules in Ireland, right? So you have the fairies and you have the leprechauns there, and you have all these mystical creatures,
There you go.
And then we go to Scotland, and that's a completely different breed of people out there, and Courtney can reflect to that because she's been to both countries. But, I'm not sure I mentioned, I also run the world's largest ghost. And by the way, this year, September 25, get ready. It's going to be amazing. We have over 200 locations, and we have finally built the live stream platform for the world's largest ghost hunt, and it's going to be spectacular. I typically have 5 people that volunteer to help me. I've got 20 times that. I've got 100 people lined up to volunteers. I know, I'm so excited.
That was so much fun.
And we are just everywhere. We have Greece for the very first time. We have Germany for the very first time. We've never had them. And but what I learned from the world's largest ghost hunt is that cultural impact. Like the United States, they pull out, they got their K2 meter, right? Well, in in the UK, they whip out their little Ouija board, and we're going,
Yeah.
and they're going, what? This is how you ghost hunt. It's like, so everyone has their own style. Everybody has their own opinions, and their own theories. And to see that blend internationally is out of this literally world.
It's phenomenal. I mean, it's a phenomenal experience. I mean, I got to experience it. I don't know how many years ago was it now? 3. But I took part in that, and I got to see how you guys conduct it. And I'm like, damn. I'm looking at the production crew who's never been on one of these before, and they're like, what is this? And we love it. I mean, they will all want to come back.
Wait
to
till
it
you see this here. It's going to be out of this world. And we have people, we haven't even announced it or pushed it out very much yet. We in fact, just got our first participants committee meeting today. But we've already got it half filled of the 200. That is amazing. Yeah. So July 1st is the cutoff time, but we're talking some real big sponsors that are going to help us push this out even further. So, including StreamYard, they're one of our sponsors, giving everybody a free subscription, to upgraded subscription for that day. So that will be a wonderful thing. Yes. So I wanted to plug in my World's Largest Ghost Hunt, because to me that's very dear to my heart, because it's really revealed the biggest places that needed a megaphone. People did not know about them. Right. And once they got on the World's Largest Ghost Hunt, they found out about them, and they're surviving today. So I'm kind of a little bit proud about that.
And is all that information?
Well, I have a lot of paranormal. Sorry, Genevieve, I lost you there for a second.
Yeah.
Is all that information on your website?
On hauntedjourneys.com, yes. And there's a link to the World's Largest Ghost Hunt there. The direct link to the World's Largest Ghost Hunt, if you want to participate at this point, that's what we're concentrating on until July 1st, is largestghosthunt.com. And that's how you sign up. But
I got it all
thank you for doing that.
What I'm going to do each and every one of my shows, because I got a lot of paranormal ones coming up, I'm going to put that banner across each time, and I'll put it almost like as a commercial. So I'll promote that like you wouldn't believe. And from here on out, we're going to start promoting these tours as well. Yeah. Well, I got your back. Like we can't say it enough to each other. We're always Dominic, on the phone, and we're like, we work hard.
You're one of our true friends that always comes through, and I don't have to keep up with Dominic for Dominic to keep up with Maria, and you have no idea how valuable that is. That is a true friend. So thank you. I appreciate
that, and I feel the same way about you. Yeah. All right. So that one question I keep diving away from. All right. So when it comes to the local aspect, when you go on these tours, the cuisine and stuff like that, do you guys plan on going to some of these places and talking to the locals about what you're doing and stuff like that? So the guests that are coming, like the 24, do you have certain places that you have in mind to go check out?
As far as eating?
Yeah, as far as maybe traditional cuisine and stuff.
We like to eat. We like to eat. So on all our ghost tours, we do a welcome lunch, because we land no matter where, if we're landing in Dublin or if we're landing in Baltimore to do our Civil War stuff. We land about 9:00. It's a full day. Some folks say, do you give us a free day? And I go, no. If you want a free day, you come to Ireland or to Gettysburg a day before, and I'm not charging you for that free day. So be glad that I'm not giving you a free day, because a free day for you means I don't have to, it doesn't cost me anything. And I don't want that. I do believe that if you're paying for a tour, every day should be a day of an experience. If you want your free day, you come before, you come after, that's fine. But you're going to get your money's worth. And that's how I would want that. So we have a welcome you know, we land in the airport 9 o'clock. We get you acquainted with we have a local tour guide. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, poor Courtney's not going to be by herself trying to do all this by herself. And we have somebody that speaks Irish for people for those ghosts to say, oh, yeah. So he's quite dapper too. So I think the ladies will go after him real good too. The fellow that we're using, Anthony, he's tremendous. He's an experienced tour guide. He uses one of those Viking tour bull things to get us back on the bus. Nobody else. That. So when you hear, we got to jump on that bus to go to the next spot. So we have the welcome lunch. And then we have lunch on our own, dinner on our own. Of course, every breakfast we get together and we talk about the day before. That's all included, the breakfasts. And then we have a celebration dinner. And doggone it, you're going to have a celebration dinner in a haunted restaurant if I can help it. So, yeah, so
that's what I was getting to. That's exactly what I was getting to with that question. Yeah.
Maria, we have a really cool haunted castle one in Ireland as an option too.
Which one?
We have a potential. Well, it's a surprise. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say it at Bunratty.
Oh, right.
Yeah. A special dinner. Gettysburg too, though. We have a very haunted restaurant.
Oh, wait till don't tell them that one yet. Yeah, we actually have a couple of really, we call them surprises because everybody likes a little gift, and an added plus that is not on the itinerary that is so incredible that it's sort of hard to keep tight-lipped on it because you want to brag, but you can't. We have to let it make sure it's a surprise. Yeah,
that's great.
So everything is done. We try. There's some places that we cannot get in that is haunted, okay? Or not that we can't get in, but it's just not the right tone to do whatever it is. Now, in Gettysburg, we're going to be staying at, yes, it's a box hotel. It's not historical, but dang it, it's 200 steps away from the cemetery ridge. It's in our backyard. So we can essentially look outside our window and look at the cemetery ridge. Courtney, we're going to stay up all night. That's all there is to it.
Always, yeah. Always.
You guys considering going to the, what was it, the Gettysburg Bash in August? I think all of us are going to it.
Are you?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's really tough with our schedule of travel, etc. So I'd love to consider it. It'd be a great place to show it off. That's in, when is that, in August?
August, I believe. Yeah, it's all set up. I think I rented out a farmhouse that's like on the battlefield itself, so I could just walk outside. And I don't know if the place is haunted, but I mean, this is where I want to explore at night.
Yeah, that was one of our problems, is that there was a lot of beautiful little inns, but they only had like 5 rooms. And it's just me. Yeah.
You know,
right. I would do that in a minute. You know, I got to a point, like I said, maybe I'll get 2 or 3 of them together and we'll spread out. But it's kind of cool getting together on breakfast and all of us being together, you know. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now you have on the website, you have all these listed, right? I believe you said 13 to 14 ready to go.
Well, it's 13 right now there, but the 14th is coming in real soon, which is Tombstone. Yeah, in October.
Oh my God, I want to see that place.
With Rick McCullum. And is he I don't know if you know Rick. We'll have to get him on your show.
Yeah,
he is a hoot. He is so, I don't know if he's part of Hollywood Ghost Tours. Ghost Hunts, I'm sorry. Hollywood Ghost Hunters. And that's with, I'm not into the horror stuff. He was a stuntman for a lot of the horror shows. So his best friend is Friday the 13th. Who's that? Freddy, a cougar, or what?
Kane.
Kane, yeah, Kane.
I love horror movies.
So he's good friends with Kane, and he's also good friends, and they're part of the Hollywood Ghost Hunters. And he's also good friend of Leatherface.
Right.
Just like me, yes, Leatherface. So
I think I've actually met him before. I don't even remember. I've met so many, but I believe
Courtney.
I don't know his because he's always changing in the movies.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Kane's in more than one, I think.
Oh, really?
He's in most of them now. Yeah.
So, yeah. Kane is, but he was in Leatherface. He was, this is another character. Oh, God.
Gotcha.
Rick is going to kill me because I don't know.
Well, there's the dates right there. August 20th, 21st, 22nd of 2021. I mean, this is coming up. Cindy
Excellent.
put that
Thank
on
you,
there.
Cindy. Appreciate that. Yeah. That's
Gotta
absolutely
figure
something
out.
to consider. Yeah, figure it out.
I'll actually send you all that info this week so you can
that.
actually maybe see what's going on with that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about some of these, the tours and more to see. We're gonna go to a commercial break here in about 5-6 minutes, and then we're gonna dive right back into more questions. And Genevieve, I know you have a lot more and with some of these places. So if we want to go down the list of some of these places, and we'll go to commercial, we'll start talking. You want to do the list now or come back?
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't.
You pick. The stage is yours.
I was thinking go back. Can we do it when we come back so that way we have?
Sure. Let's go ahead and
let's
do the commercial real quick, and we'll see you later.
I love commercials.
we'll see you later in a moment. So we'll take you all out, and boom.
WLFE Digital Broadcast Network is on TV. You can watch all of our shows on WLFE-DB.com. Check out our channels: Paranormal View for all of your paranormal type shows, LGBTQ Friends for all of our LGBTQ shows, Variety Unlimited for all other shows. It runs 24/7 right on WLFE-DB.com. You'll even catch the lives, all in one place. Never miss an episode, past or future. WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows. Search for your favorite shows like Where's My Sage, Inside the Drag Closet, Across the Pond, Everything Yet Nothing, Paratalk Radio, Step into the Paranormal, The Creepy Parlor, Just Cindy, and more. Now you won't miss an episode. Remember, follow Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Make sure you subscribe and follow your favorite WLFE-DB radio shows. You can find our shows where you listen to your favorite podcasts, like Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and more.
WLFE-DB Radio is looking for podcasts to join our family. You don't have to fit any strict genre. We're a plethora of shows. If you're looking to jump on a growing network, then contact us at WLFEDBradio@gmail.com.
Wow, Amazon Music just got a whole lot better. Your favorite shows from WLFE-DB Radio can now be found there. Yes, we are on Amazon Music, found under podcasts. Download the app, find podcasts, and search all of your favorite shows. Shows like Where's My Sage, Across the Pond, Everything Yet Nothing, Skeptical Help Bar, The Creepy Parlor, Just Cindy, and much more. Now you don't have to miss an episode ever. Amazon Music is WLFE-DB Radiofied.
More from WLFE-DB Radio Network after this.
Hey guys and dolls, this is Casey DeVille, the better half of DeVille Inc., Baltimore, Maryland. If you're ever in Baltimore, stop in and see me and Tony. Invisible Brie, 5920 Eastern Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland, 21224. Give us a call if you're in the area at 410-400-9641, or look us up on the web at DeVilleInc.com. DeVille Inc., where we specialize in you.
Oh yeah, life just got sweeter now that WLFE-DB has merchandise. Show your support by purchasing your t-shirts for WLFE, Paratalk Radio, Inside the Drag Closet, and more. But it doesn't stop there. T-shirts, coffee mugs, tanks, buttons, cloth bags, and more. Go to WLFE-DB.com. On the top bar, click on the merchandise tab and bam, there you go. You got merch. Support the shows. WLFE-DB.com.
You're listening to WLFE DB Radio. Now, back to our program. You're listening to WLFE DB Radio. Now, back to the program.
Oh, I could still hear it playing.
Is somebody watching it?
Maybe. Well, all right. So anyone just tuning in, we have mysterious adventure tours. We have Maria and Courtney here. We're talking about what they're doing, all the destinations that they're traveling to, and we said before the break that we were going to talk about some of these destinations and what can we anticipate.
Which one are you referring to? The
Whichever ones you want to go down,
or the Irish mode? Okay. Let's start with the first one. Courtney,
okay.
Is that good? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got it up here so I won't mess up. And Courtney's going strictly by her very young memory. So we'll work together on that. Courtney, I think what's important to realize is that we were following the trail of how the Civil War penetration and the battles occurred in that area, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's why we're not starting in Gettysburg. We're ending in Gettysburg with the big deal bash there,
Yeah. So there's, I like to go chronologically. It's not always possible. But there's thousands of deadly battles in the Civil War, but a lot of them kind of happen around this Maryland, Virginia area, especially Northern Virginia. And so we're going to start off, kind of in this spot that I think is almost underrated in how haunted it is. We have in this area Manassas and Fredericksburg to the north of it, but there's Wilderness, Chancellorsville, and Spotsylvania, which they are still finding body parts in. Like 20,000 people died in each of those battles. Mm-hmm. So, and these areas are within 5 minutes, a couple miles of each other, a lot of them. So this area is happening time and time again. This is where, Stonewall Jackson gets shot and killed. This is where, Jeb Stuart gets shot. This is where all these thousands of people keep getting in this bloody angle and hitting each other. And people are hiding in the woods. So there's a lot of, haunted activity there. But I think what draws me to put this in the beginning, and Maria and I talked about this, is I read a ghost story from a man who fought in those battles, survived. He went back to get some of the people that they left behind on the field. And he found one of his friends who was mostly bones, and he grabbed his arm, and the arm, he said, physically retracted, like pulled back. Ooh. And they call that the spirit of wilderness, that the energy of them being cut down and mowed down there is still so palpable that even the dead still physically move. So that's where we're going to start our tour, to kind of set the tone on how deadly and terrifying this war was. And then we're going to make our way up through West Virginia, and we're going to backtrack a little to everything that started the war. We're going to go to Harper's Ferry, talk about John Brown and his raid. And then we're going to go to Antietam, which is the first and bloodiest battle, where all these 18-year-olds never held a gun before and all just ran across fields at each other. And they have, of course, the Bloody Lane, which is incredibly haunted, and they can still hear the Irish folks that were fighting chanting there. And then we're going to make our way up to Gettysburg, which is the turning point of the war. So the Confederates were winning up until Gettysburg. So Gettysburg is where it all turns around for Robert E. Lee and his men, and the Union has a chance. And so that's where American history changes as we know it. So it's the perfect end to that trail that weekend.
And that's a little bit of an address, right? By our president there.
Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation cannot be forgotten at Gettysburg either. That's also changing everything.
And we, even during our tour of each of the cities, we'll progress within that time capsule of that city, how that goes. And our very last stop in Gettysburg, because this is on Labor Day weekend. So we have a full day Friday, full day Saturday, and when I say full, Courtney, we mean full, right?
Yeah, I mean,
No
you're going from
rest for the
battlefield to
wicked.
battlefield, you
No
know.
rest for the wicked, and then a full day on 2 days in Gettysburg, Sunday and Monday,
Yeah.
and the
Wear
very
your
last
sneakers. Wear your sneakers.
exactly. And the last thing we do is, because of the intensity of putting it all together, the last stop will be at the Gettysburg National Cemetery. So that's going to be an amazing experience to see the dying of this battle, and then where they will, where some rest in peace now, and it puts it in such a sacred mode at that moment, and we should leave with a lot of American pride, and I think
Yeah.
that's so important. Yeah. And one of the things that actually we casually ran into, and I think Courtney, I'm bullheaded. When I need to get something done, I want to get it. And Courtney, of course, being metaphysical, said, "Maria, why don't you try Fredericksburg and see if we can stay out there?" I couldn't get a spot. I said, "What the hell's going on?" And the original place, help me with these names of the cities. Courtney is my historian. I'm, again, the show and teller. But she says, "Why don't you go to Fredericksburg?" And I did. And the very first phone call I got, she says, "Absolutely. In fact, our hotel is extremely haunted."
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay." She says, "We don't get enough credit for what we did in the Civil War. I'm glad you're going to be staying with us. And I'm going to treat you to a wonderful ghost tour." And so the city is opening up to our tour guide to do this. And I need to also give credit to my friends at the Spirit Realm Network. The same folks that are putting our World's Largest Ghost Hunt together, they're going to be following us. They're bringing the CEO, producer, and TV man over to Gettysburg. And Jim has just been so gallant in putting this together. So he's actually going to film it and broadcast it. So I don't want to tell people that they can see it on live stream, because otherwise they won't come to the tour. But you need to come to tour, because doing all my research, guys, I will tell you, I do research before I publish, before I commit. I have not found anything close to what Courtney is going to be presenting. And I'm very serious. And with her gift on top of it, and her love for this space, you just can't get a better combination. So I strongly don't think there'll be any disappointments. There's nothing that I've done. I am appreciative to Courtney.
Yeah.
So publicly, I'm saying thank you, Courtney.
Thank you. Thank you.
Truly.
A tour has to be they have to go on the tour. I mean, yeah, you could easily watch it and stuff like that, but it will give no justice to what you guys are going to provide, and then the surprises and stuff. So, I mean, absolutely go on these tours.
Yeah, it's not the same. And like Maria kind of said before, in investigating, there's these moments where you really feel physically like you're not even necessarily investigating. You just feel a change in energy. You feel a presence. And that's going to happen a lot on those battlefields, those moments.
And even if it's not something paranormal, I mean, just the sheer impact of what happened there.
Yeah. It's haunting enough.
Right away.
Yeah.
Genevieve knows about this too, like with the history and stuff, what she has to go through as far as getting her stories right. And you dress the time periods too, don't you, when you do on this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So she gets right into it, just like
multiple costumes.
I love it.
And do you think it makes a difference in how they respond to you?
I'm not sure if it necessarily makes a difference in. I've only had 2 or 3 actual experiences while doing a tour. So I'm not sure that it makes a difference paranormally. I know it makes a difference for me as a storyteller, and it sort of identifies me as definitely, that's definitely the tour guide, like that sort of vibe. I don't, I've only, like I said, I've only had a handful of actual experiences while on tour. So not quite sure, and it's fun. I mean, who doesn't want to wear like a 1890s Victorian morning dress every weekend?
That to me would be a dream come true.
They're flattering. They're flattering too. I'm just saying.
Yeah. That's when people step on your bustle as you're walking.
Good news is they aren't dyed with arsenic anymore to set the black color. So, bonus.
That is helpful.
Dom might know one too. Well, not sure, Jillian.
Oh, I'm
Jillian
sure you've got one, Dom.
Well,
a Victorian wear, yeah.
Right.
I did learn early on to not do the corset because I couldn't breathe deeply enough to project my voice.
It's good posture, though. You just can't sit.
You just can't hear me because I'm whispering because I have no air.
The experience I had in Scotland, it was this big like tartan dress, like I said, but it had like a corset in the middle. Because yes, I dress like this in my free time a lot too. But it was just like I was walking the battlefields and I kept seeing people everywhere, and I remember like. It was in Scotland. I read this sign that said, "This is where most of the men died on the field." And I looked at the sign. I said, "No, it's not," because I could hear them behind me going, "No, it was over there." And I'm looking going, okay. And then I took a tour later and this tour guide's like, "So this sign is misplaced. It should be over there." Oh, wow. And I was like, Yeah. But then, I was prompted to change the dress because it got them all riled up.
It got them all hot and saucy. Oh, look at that.
They're just like, they're like, "That's an old dress. They thought they knew me." You know what I mean? And I'm like, we can't do this whole trip or I'm going to be exhausted.
I like that you guys have your stuff together. As far as the history and knowledge and the location of certain spots. So what turned me off about actual, like, say, the ghost tours, right, was the fact that they were pretty much telling, and actually, I'm not gonna say nothing about nothing here, but the one here in Ocala, I absolutely hated it. I felt like it was like a Wikipedia session. And it was just boring. They didn't get into it. And the ghost tours, they're like, "Oh yeah, this happened, that happened." And, they give you these little gadgets and you get nothing, and everyone's talking, you get skeptics everywhere. And they're asking dumb questions like Courtney said earlier. And it's like, that's why I started getting away from the whole ghost tours. I'm sure Genevieve doesn't do that. But this is why I like you guys, because you're actually bringing the history and the feeling, and you're Courtney, you do some certain things. I was reading your website. And then you're going to incorporate everything you do, your medium, and we'll talk about your website too, because I like some of the things you did. You have something. I'm going to put your website up right now as far as a banner, how to go find you. You want to explain your website, Courtney, just to get it out there real quick, so we don't run out of time.
So I have two websites. I have one for the ghost tours in Mystic, which are called Haunted History Tours for the reasons we've just described. I've always felt ghost tours, sometimes like people expect, cheaper content. So I changed it to Haunted History Tours so they knew they were going to get educated. And so that's seasideshadows.com. And then my other site is my name, CourtneyMcInvilleReardon.com. And that's focused on all my mediumship. So I do everything from, connecting with people who have passed to tarot cards and reading tea leaves, which is my new favorite thing to do. Because it's perhaps one of the oldest forms of, what they call divination, but it's perhaps one of the most accurate I've ever experienced is the tea leaves.
Really?
Because it's so personal to that.
We'll be drinking a lot of tea.
Yes. And of course that connects to Ireland and Scotland. And so maybe when we go abroad, we'll have to do a tea leaf afternoon or something like that. That would be really fun. Yeah.
Well, that caught my eye a lot on your website. I was totally interested in that, and I noticed that you can actually get a tea party going with that, right? Like you could what was it called? Schedule one.
Yeah,
so I think I'm probably going to do that because I'm interested. I've never seen it done.
Oh, yeah. It's fun.
We
So
hosted our first morning tea this past year, and I wanted to do it in person, but obviously we couldn't because of COVID. But that was what I was looking for, was a tea reader. So I'm going to keep that in mind.
Oh, yes, yes.
Maybe a tea leaf reader for my party.
Yeah, it's kind of like a really old style, but you know, kind of with everything, it's almost like the simpler and more original things are the more accurate.
Yeah.
I love it. That caught my eye because I've never kind of heard of it. So I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Your tea leaves, and I have some good flavored tea so that it's still enjoyable to drink before you get your reading.
That's very cool. Now, with the when people want to book these, they'll of course go to the all the websites, all the tours, and all that. And then what are they going to get a hold of a representative to figure out, the pricing and stuff like that? Because we're not going to talk about pricing on here. That's personal for the guests to talk about with you guys.
I don't mind talking about pricing because I think we price them very, very fairly. I don't have a big corporation. I'm a small business, and we do that as a small business. We understand that, especially now we're in a recovery fiscally as well as, healthcare wise. So we make this very simple. Every tour, in fact, I think the most expensive tour we have is the one that's the most embellished and most celebrated one. It's because of the fascination behind it, and what we're including in it is Transylvania for the 125th anniversary of Bram Stoker's Dracula. And that one, we're actually going to have a 4-course dinner and a paranormal investigation in Dracula's castle. So that doesn't happen too often. And
my little goth heart can't take it.
Well, you should read about it then. And I don't want to brag about Romania because right now we're concentrating on Courtney's, but that's my most expensive tour, and that's at $2,500 for 10 days. That's pretty damn good.
That's cheap actually, because cruises are that much money, and they're not getting half of what they're going to get out of this one.
All of our
explode into bats. I would just explode into bats and flutter away.
It depends on every we're going to be doing an investigation at Lep Castle with Courtney's group, and then we're trying to get another really incredible site for an investigation.
We have Ireland. Spike Island too on there.
Yes, Spike Island too. Spike Island is Ireland's
Alcatraz is what
Thank
they call
you.
it.
Alcatraz. After 9 o'clock, my brain starts going. It's flat. It's not working anymore.
A lot of the IRA prisoners went there, and we're going to spend the night there, right, Maria?
Yes, and that place is extremely underrated. That place has amazing. I mean, you try to get photos of images of actual apparitions that were caught on some of the places we go to. Spike Island has incredible apparitions, incredible stories, and we're going to do it's an overnight where we actually stay in the prison, so that's kind of fun. But not a lot of these spooky tours or any of these tours has those kind of experiences where you're actually doing a full 4-hour investigation, and we're packing between 2 and 3 per trip. The average cost is around $2,000. Some are less, some are more. It's about $2,000, and $100 holds your spot. And so what we do is we don't charge interest, and we just put you on a payment plan. Most of them are about 12 months of a payment plan. Right. So it goes very easy. What you spend on Starbucks every day.
Right.
Can go into a slush fund to have the best experience of your life, And I'm not, this is when they come back, Courtney, my goal is to get them back to another year with you.
Yeah.
And that's because she's going to be going to Scotland in 23. So I can't even imagine Courtney in Scotland, but it's.
It's going to be so much fun.
You've got to wear that cloak thing. But
I will. It's hanging up in my closet. I look at it sometimes.
But, what we want to do is say, you can have your little Disney World vacation, which
Mm-hmm.
is great, very expensive, but great. Or
Have
you
you
can
seen? Yeah,
have an incredible experience with our mysterious adventure tours.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm very proud that, we will deliver. We will deliver because we're
Yeah.
passionate about what we're doing.
right.
Yeah.
When's the Transylvania one?
Oh God. It's May 24th of 2023. So what's really
Yeah.
interesting is the week prior to that is we're actually going to do Bram Stoker's Ireland with Dr. Stoker, who is the great, great, great nephew
Right.
of Bram Stoker. So we're going to go follow the trails around Ireland of the influences that could have potentially created Dracula or the
Right.
Dracula story. For instance, Bram Stoker's mother was born and raised in flatline again. Here we go. Here we go. Help me. Northwest neck of the teddy bear. Oh, God, I'm so embarrassed, but that's okay. Anyway, where we're going to go to her country where she wrote a diary, and all the she's looking it up. I can tell on the internet. She's
I
such a
am.
lovely girl, and all the she wrote the journals of what she went through with the
Mm-hmm.
malaria infection that happened in Sligo,
Yeah.
Ireland. Thank you.
There
Sligo,
it is.
Ireland is on the northwest. It's like the Oregon of
Mm-hmm.
Ireland. And so what she wrote in these journals and she sent them to Bram. And Bram read them and realized that she's describing people were buried alive because
Yeah.
of malaria. They
Mhm.
didn't want them living and they were going to die anyway. So why hang around and infect us? Let's put you under the earth where you're going to
Yep.
be a little bit safer there. So anyway, so that was one of the influences. There's several influences that Bram Stoker had that created the characters, that created the stories behind Dracula. And so after that, we get on a plane and we run over to Transylvania. So anybody that has a 3-week extended vacation, you can do Ireland, follow Bram into Transylvania. And yeah.
Well, you see, I think Genevieve, I think your sister has spoken.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
also
so.
going to Romania. I've been we've talked about that, Maria, and yeah, we're gonna start that process because that's one I'm not going to miss, and that gives like a 2-year buffer of planning for myself. I'll make it happen.
Yeah.
Can we
Well,
do
it's
it
actually a little
marathon?
bit more than a year, but that's okay. We're not counting.
Yeah.
It's going to be an incredible one, but I can't think of a better way to. She's going to be like my lucky charm, Courtney. Launching me off in the domestic tours.
And we are going to see the leprechauns too.
Oh, we are going to see leprechauns. Yes, we
There's
are.
a town in Ireland that we're going to.
Oh, what's it called?
I'll
find it. Yeah.
Carlingford.
That's it, Carlingford.
And I kid you not, this is not a joke. They believe that, they know where the leprechauns live and they know where their homes are, and we're going to go to them. But they have a protective order that they are an endangered species and they cannot be hunted and people can't go there. In this one town, as recent as I think it was 2018, they had them like protected, like the little people. So you can't bother them. And when I was in Ireland in 2013, I was, horseback riding with my husband, and there was this little old man walking through a hillside, and we asked him what he was doing, and he said he was looking for the leprechauns. So, we're going to find them.
Oh, we're going to find the little old man too? Maybe he can lead us.
Yeah, I mean, he clearly knew what he was doing.
No, we need something like that.
You ever consider doing any of them in Florida in the future, like after all these go down? Because we have the mob barker, we have the the Osceola curse here and stuff like that. There's a lot of history that Florida still has.
I cannot forget our American tapestry and all the properties in America, being Florida, being where I live now in Ohio.
Right.
Genevieve's, your Cape May is amazing. That's an amazing place in the Jersey. Is that near the Jersey Shore, Cape
Yeah,
May?
that's the end of Jersey. Yep.
Yeah. And those beautiful speckled Victorians that you have on the seaside. And then we have San Francisco. Oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
that is loaded with wonderful history and wonderful ghost stories. And of course, we have the Rockies and we have the Midwest and
Yeah.
there's just so much out there. The Texas prairie land and,
Right.
I don't think there's prairie lands in Texas, but oil fields. There we go.
The
But
oil.
the bottom line is that we have such an incredible nation that, yes, I'm bringing people to Wales, I'm bringing them to Scotland, I'm bringing them to Ireland, but I want to bring them to America as well. And
Yeah.
what we're hoping to do is get an international following to come
Right.
overseas and bring us,
Yeah, that'd be
to
that.
bring us to
That's on
Mystic,
point.
Connecticut, the colonies, what a wonderful trip would that be? Haunted colonies, and go through the American Revolution there.
Yeah, it's
Um,
all end.
Oh, God.
I have no shortage of battlefields for you.
Yeah, I mean, remember St. Augustine? They have the fort. It's probably tough to do anything really in the fort anymore. It's so protected. But I mean, there's so much
Augustine
history.
is so amazing there, So we're starting in America in the Civil War with an emphasis, of course, on Gettysburg, because that's what everybody knows until we get there.
They're going to know the other ones.
We're going to make sure they know about the other ones and give them credit. But
Right.
then we're going to bring them to Tombstone, and we're going to also bring them to New Orleans on Halloween.
My favorite
I
place in the world.
There's no place like New Orleans. I mean, I was there 2 hours in New Orleans. We're walking down the street, and we weren't even in the French Quarter. We were like, we had just driven 18 hours to get there, right? So my husband says, are we going to stay? We're staying in a haunted Airbnb. He says, do you want to stay and just get a fresh start? I said, hell no. We're in New Orleans. Let's get out. So we started walking the street. Now, I'm from New York, so I walk fast. He's from Ohio. He walks slower. So I'm like, I'm just so excited. I'm going to take, there's nobody there. This is a Monday around 11 o'clock at night. No one's there.
Yeah.
Maria. And I look back and I go, yeah? He says, what do you mean, yeah? Didn't you call me? No, it was clear as my voice. And it's kind of creepy knowing that they know my name. And I just got there, It's like, do you know my credit card number?
Right.
It's like, it was amazing. And then, of course, everything that followed from there. That was just the first 2 hours I was there.
Check it out next Monday here. We're bringing in the French Quarter, which Genevieve already had them on too. I didn't even realize that, but we're doing an entire vampire show next week.
Are you? Who are you bringing?
What is it? Luke
Sedal.
Yeah.
French Quarter Phantoms.
Okay.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about why they blessed each bolt in the French Quarters because of the vampires and all that. Like, I can't wait. That's going to be crazy.
Excuse me.
And
see, there's a trifecta going on in New Orleans, right? There's the phantoms.
Yes.
There's the vampires. And what's the third trifecta?
The
voodoo. Marie LeVay. And that's, go ahead, Genevieve, on that one.
No, I was the first time I went to New Orleans, I was walking down the street and I walked past a group of people and they looked at me and they went, and I was like, oh, okay.
Why?
I don't know.
Did you ask them?
I didn't. I just kept walking.
I'll do this.
Figured I was scared.
Yes, these are my friends.
Were you dressed gothically? Because they're used to that.
Always.
So, but they're used to that in New Orleans. As if you don't dress gothic, they should look at you strangely. Yeah.
That was another place I actually hated a lot of the ghost tours because I went to the locals. They were called gutter punks, and they're the ones that took me, and we followed the ghost tours, right? And they actually brought me to the real. What's that, Genevieve?
That guy that follows the ghost tours. Don't be that guy.
but I did it for a reason,
Oh,
for
I
the
know, I
Marie
guess.
LeVay part, right?
Courtney loves
So
those.
I got
I
to watch.
hired security because of all the followers, so they get a boot.
The reason I did that was for not to take away from the ghost tour, but because I was told that they would take me to the fake grave of Marie LeVay. So I asked the gutter punks to follow them for a minute. So as I went to the grave where she's at, it was actually the fake one. And then they brought me to the real deal, which is just a couple of stones down. They just don't want you kind of
people
really
are
messing with it.
vandalizing it. There was someone that broke into the cemetery and painted her tomb pink.
Yep.
Pepto-Bismol pink.
Oh my God, how horrible is that?
Yeah.
I will have to give Connecticut credit, though, that we have the first recorded United States vampires. So
yes, you do.
Really?
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah. I always tell my
explain.
guests that, well, consumption, which is tuberculosis, was really widespread throughout New England. And the common belief, because they couldn't figure out how people were getting consumption, was that it was caused by the people who died of the disease getting possessed in their graves and rising from the graves at night and infecting their loved ones by biting them. And that's why you became pale and gaunt and lost all of, your weight, is because the life was being sucked out of you until you too died and became a vampire. And so the first recordings of that were in Jewett City, Connecticut. And what you would have to do is dig up your deceased loved ones and burn their heart and take their head off and bury it elsewhere. And those are the consumption vampires, but those started in Connecticut. So I always tell my tour guests, if someone comes to your window, don't let them in because you're in Connecticut.
Love it.
See, I learned something today. It's amazing. That's such a good story. Yeah.
Yeah. It's creepy, but it's true, and I think the creepiest part is this, honestly. The people that did it, I always say, do you think it worked? And everyone goes, no way. There's no way that would cure consumption. But every family that recorded actually doing this no longer had tuberculosis in their family, and whoever was sick recovered.
That's crazy. I'm learning.
Weird, right?
We should just do an entire vampire show one day. I'll just get everyone I know that knows about vampires.
Well, when I bring in Transylvania, if you want, I can bring you the ambassadors in.
Well, that's exactly. Well, yeah. As we go through this, I'll call you this week, especially when you have time, because we're both everywhere with timing. And we'll start going through the guests of hosts that you would like to be brought on, and the order of how you want it. So I can't wait to promote this so much and then meet and then learn, just like Courtney. I'm learning so much from Courtney. That's things I didn't know about,
We use smart people. We do.
So
well, the ambassadors I bring in, and it's obviously present company included, are a reflection of our company. So I've got like Ted Van Son, he's an amazing, very passionate in his in the field. He's above all, he's been wanting to go to Ireland for such a long time. So this is his first experience. So those friends of him, please support him and his tour to realize his dream. But we got Brian Cano in Wales, UK. Now, let me tell you, Courtney, once you see what comes out of Wales from us, you're gonna that's gonna be on your.
That's gonna be my 2024. Is that what you're saying?
I did not know that Wales has more castles per capita than anywhere else in the world. Now, it's a small country compared to Ireland and compared to Scotland and even the UK, but they've got more concentrated castles. So some of the places that we're going to, that was one of the tours I had no difficulty finding lodgings that we can accommodate for our trip, and every one of them is absolutely incredible. And on that one, we're doing the Skirrid Mountain Inn. I'm sure you've heard of that one. It's one of the most. It is the most. It's the oldest pub in Wales.
Mm-hmm.
We're also doing, and hold on to your set for this one, the Ancient Ramen. Now, the Ancient Ramen formally is in the UK. It's in England, but it's only like 10 minutes out of Wales. So we're including it because of the Ancient Ramen. It's absolutely, Courtney, you got to go there. It's
I've heard about it.
insane, and it's a lot of negativity there. A lot of negativity there. Yeah, that place is amazing. So all of you guys on the chatter box, click on Ancient Ramen, read it, and say, "Oh my God!" Brought to you by Brian Cano, and then we got, oh my God, my love, Rick McCullum, and he's doing Scotland, and Mike Ricksecker, who is a publisher, very, very respected publisher, who's publishing Courtney's book.
Love it.
Will be giving us Ireland. He's doing a perspective on the ancient properties of Ireland. And then we got the Daughters of Hecate, which is there are two witches, medium strong. One lives in Scotland, one is from the USA, and they're meeting in Scotland and following all the places in Scotland where the witches were executed.
Oh. I need to go on every one of these tours.
Okay.
We got to hit the lottery.
We can do that, you know.
I think the cool thing about what Maria's doing too is like, even though you hear Ireland, Scotland, England, each experience is so completely different. You go into a totally different world on each one, which is why you can do it again and again and not see the same things.
No, you won't see the same thing. You won't. Day Spinks is also doing one. I don't know if you guys know Day Spinks, and he's doing more of the intense supernatural type of thing. And Andrea Perrone is doing the UK because, of course, we have the Conjuring 2 up there, right? But her love is the medley of the ufology. You know what Andrea Perrone is, right? She's God from the Conjuring house.
She's the oldest daughter from the.
Yeah, I got you. Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to get her on the show, so you better know her.
She's awesome.
She's phenomenal. We've been friends maybe about 7 years, so she's a lovely, lovely lady. But Andrea is a big believer of the ufology and the spiritual paranormal, the hauntings.
Okay.
And they think they're intertwined. Oh, she's got some theories that will blow your mind. Of course, we're going to be doing all the major sites up there of ufology, including the famous Stonehenge as well. Yay!
Oh man!
Did I miss anybody? Because I know I'm going to get a text from somebody tomorrow saying,
I mean, even if you did, I mean, it's one of these things that they could, just all go check it out. I mean, that's part of the surprise as well. I mean, and then there's going to be many more. Well,
you know, Sherry Benavidi, I can't say her last name. Oh, I love her. She's from Ghost Nation, you know. You got the 3 boys, and she is the fortress behind those boys. And she's on just about all the episodes. She's doing our New Orleans tour.
There you go.
For Halloween. And then in 23, she's doing the Halloween in Ireland. So, but the thing about Sherry is that she likes dark. She likes the dark bad. I know. I heard about you, Genevieve. But yeah, and I'll get her on this show too. She likes dark stuff. She likes dark shit. You know, she wants it really intense and almost to the edge of being negative. You know, she likes that challenge. That's where she's at, and she's very experienced, so she's able to handle that well. She will not be on New Orleans on Halloween Day because, damn it, Discovery Channel pays her more than I do, so she's gonna have to do a live segment for Discovery Channel. I should have said that. That's kind of secret. But anyway, nobody's going to tell. It's just between us 4, right? And
the world right now.
And so, can you bleep that out? Can you bleep that out? Can you go back and bleep it? Okay, good. Yeah, she's gonna join us for the Day of the Dead. She'll be there for the Day of the Dead, which, in my opinion, Courtney, Genevieve, you guys tell me, Dom, you tell me, is a Day of the Dead even more powerful than Halloween?
They're both so different.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
think
I
it
feel
depends.
like Halloween's the night leading up to it, right? Because it means All Hallows Eve, which is
right.
the night before the Day of the Dead. So that's when all of the preparations and the tensions begin to build. And then the Day of the Dead is, the culmination of that.
Boom,
Right.
we're there, exactly. So to me, Halloween doesn't hold a candle to Day of the Dead.
Okay.
It's like the precursor. It's a warm up.
It's like a whole
It's the
month
warm up
for
band.
me.
Yeah.
But, for pagans, they have Beltane and Samhain, which is on those days specifically.
Mhm.
So, yeah, they're both great.
I love Hallows Eve. Love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Fires and moonlights and pumpkins and cold beer. Oh my.
If it could be Halloween every day, I would be the
It's
happiest.
the only time I think adults get to pretend to be something else and get away with it.
It's the time that I feel like I'm the most me.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because you have no inhibitions, right?
Well, what I learned in Salem, I give tours up there too, but a lot of the people that practice witchcraft up there said on Halloween, you're supposed to dress for what you want in the coming year.
Mhm.
Mm.
Like what you want to be. And then that all the spirits and ancestors come through on that night and push you toward your goal based on what they see you dressed as.
I'm gonna dress up as a microphone to keep the radio going.
I was a ghost last year, so explains a lot.
It's not a good
I'll be dressed up like a
manifestation,
bus
Genevieve.
a tour bus. Yeah.
Someone's gonna have
There's a tour bus coming through.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming down to it. We got about 20 minutes left.
How did that happen?
Just a good. I'm telling you, every time you and I talk, it's so easy. That's why I seem so relaxed tonight. Everyone's probably like, "Is he paying attention?" I'm just like, I already know most of this, and I just want them to explain all of it.
I'm
You
like
know,
this.
I know,
I'm trying to
Genevieve.
I'm trying to keep my head together, but I'm inside. I'm like this.
I
Tell me everything.
You know what's really cool about it too, when you think about cruises and stuff like that, just say the 24 people going, right? This is something that they're going to share for a lifetime. They're going to meet each other as friends, and they're going to always talk about this, and that's what's always good, So
You're gonna create some bonds, some friendships. That's absolutely true. You will bond with others. There may be one or two that we want to not bond with, but for the main purpose.
Now, is anyone technically allowed to go on these tours, or do you kind of background check it so they're not going to be no hecklers and stuff, or is it just kind of one of these things where people need to have common sense on something like this?
The way I feel about it is I'm an adult. And most people, the majority of people in this world are good people. There's a few scumbags, but most are good people.
Right.
Frankly, if they can pay for a tour, they're probably wealthy cooks, but at least they've made some kind of living somewhere.
So I totally get it.
It's not like they're coming to a free event and they're crashing it, and they're invested in it. They want it to be good because they are invested on the tour. So we'll have the caliber of people that are committed to doing this. They're not going to be hecklers. They're not going to be there. Their role there is to enjoy, not to challenge.
And I think this is a good thing too, like for somebody to bring like their kids along. And I think it's great for like just the history alone of it, not to scare them with any kind of like
Transylvania. That one I kind of would say, but Courtney's, oh my God, that would be a fabulous one. And Courtney knows what better way to teach history than through a haunting, right?
That's what I always say. Always.
Yeah. It is. I actually get a lot of field trips for that very reason. Is they don't realize they're learning because they think it's all about ghosts, but then they've just absorbed all of this information.
Yeah.
That's what I want. Yeah, Genevieve, you deal in the same aspect too. You get the kids and stuff, and you're teaching.
Yeah, and I think, and I always say that too. Like, I can tell you 1,000 history stories. The second I have a ghost in there, people are going to remember it.
Mm-hmm. And they want to know who the ghost is, so they start listening to what they went through, and whatever that context is all history, and they just think it's spooky.
Yeah, and I get a lot of tours with like Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts and stuff like that. I had one troop one year that actually made a ghost tour badge.
Yes.
So I have a little badge.
My husband tried to convince me to do that once, that like we should, for like the Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts in the area, like get a badge for them to like come on the tour and say they went on it. So we've definitely thought about doing that. But up until last year with COVID, we just got so many field trips. It was awesome.
Yeah.
There's a question at the bottom there. That's from Christopher Stormbringer. Did one of your ghost hunts, did you ever feel scared or in danger? Or even let's talk about this, not just a ghost hunt itself, but an actual tour, or one of the ones you ladies were on. Like this is a versatile question here, so it's like it could go many directions. But we'll keep it on the paranormal side. Did you ever feel like you needed to like kind of walk out of a place because something wasn't good? I mean, this goes to all of you here.
Well, not me, because I'm not
right.
the experts, but the ladies are.
Yeah.
I would say like, so I grew up in a house that was really, really haunted. And so there were a lot of very frightening things there, which has made me really cautious in where I've gone and what I've done, and made me really cautious of just interacting with human spirits. But that's not to say that human spirits haven't frightened me. I did last year at Gettysburg, when I was researching for my book, my husband went to go take pictures, and I went to go near where this deadly charge was. And it was nighttime, because you can be there at night. And I was alone, and I all of a sudden saw these two men, like with a look in their eye, and they were dead, that was just very serious and confused. And they started to barrel towards me, and I ran toward the car and screamed for my husband, and he came. But what creeped me out, which is why I made him drive away so quickly, is when I got in the passenger seat. We had a rental car where it has a sensor if you're going to hit something or if something's there. I saw them coming toward me at the car. I hopped in the car, and he started it, and the sensor went out that they were at my door, and there was nothing there. And the sensor started blinking. And that was definitely, why are they running at me? Why do they look angry? Clearly they saw me. This isn't residual. So that spooked me, because they weren't there to talk, but they were moving. And then there was that proof that, it wasn't just my mind playing tricks on me in the dark. Like, the car picked up on them.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And I it's not crazy, but yeah.
It spooked me.
I had an experience on one of my tours, and like I said, I generally don't have actual experiences on my tours, because I think I'm a bit distracted, like trying to keep people on the sidewalk and tell stories and things like that.
You got to tell the ghost to wait.
Yeah, but I did have one experience where I was actually pushed, and my guests thought that I was like falling, and my sister was on that tour that night, and it shocked me so much that afterwards I called my sister on her way home, and I was like, I'm really kind of scared. I feel like something followed me home. And she's like, why are you scared? You do this all the time. I'm like, yeah, but they've never physically pushed me.
Right.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where were you?
I was standing in front of our town. I live in Keyport, New Jersey, and our town has a lot of really historic old homes. And I was standing out in front of a house that was built in 1838, and it's now our historical society. And I was standing there, and I was waiting for everyone to catch up with me. And it felt like someone just shoved me on the shoulder. And I took a few steps forward, and it shook me up a bit. It really did.
It's almost more intense when it's like a place you've gone to a lot too, like I give this graveyard tour like 3 times a week. And at one of these tours, someone who works on Travel Channel, like as a producer, she happened to just be a guest, but she brought all these like devices with her, and she asked if at the end of the tour we could try them out in the graveyard, and I'm thinking, yeah, sure, as long as I'm there, that's fine. And we went to this stone where there's typically this guy from the 1600s. He's a soldier, he stands on top of it, but we could see the shape of him, and all of the detectors go off, and then we heard footsteps running. And at that moment, I felt like fingertips on the top of my head. And I was like, I've talked about this guy for 7 years and he has never touched me. But that freaked me out because I thought we had an understanding. So I left. Like, I just beat feet out of there because I was like, no, we don't do this touch thing. Like, I draw the line here with you.
Yeah,
well, there you go.
We have another location that is, it was a church and it was turned into a restaurant. And there was a time where it was empty, but I was still telling stories in front of it. And one of my guests pulled me aside and said, "There's a man standing in the doorway and he's reaching out toward you." And I was like, all right, so we're going to stop telling that story in front of the Lord.
This is the one who really loves you, right, Genevieve?
Yeah, he doesn't like me so much. We've had a lot of issues. We've had a lot of run-ins, me and this particular ghost.
I bring the ghost flowers a couple times a year just to like say thank you for letting me share your story, because if we're not good with each other, forget it. There's no tour.
I do that for the we have the Jersey shark attack victims. They're buried not too far from here, and I bring them flowers and stuff too.
And I think it means something to them, I really do.
It's an offering.
Yeah.
It's really on point. Now, Maria, you don't have any story like that because you ran even though you're not a ghost hunter per se, but you ran like that bed and breakfast, and you've lived in another house was quite active, as we all know. You never had any of those frightening experience of where it's like, oh well, shit, I don't know what that one is right now.
The phantoms that were at the Seven Sisters Inn, we had 7 that were part of the house.
Mm-hmm.
I knew each one by name, and then there were the hijackers, right? Because remember, we had 5 rooms. People would come in. We, of course, at that point, I did not allow Ouija boards or doing any kind of really like a little edgy stuff, but I know they did, and they used to plant stuff, and I mean that's how they are, sometimes, unfortunately, when they stay overnight and you're not there, you're not monitoring what is behind those closed doors. You don't want to monitor what's behind those closed doors. But I've had some very intense experiences there. Some of them were negative, but they never attacked me. And I think it's because the spirits of the house protected me a lot, and especially the main two people, which was Ben Reinauer and Emma Reinauer. They're the original folks of the house.
Right.
But I had some, one day I have to sit down and write a book about all the experiences that I had there, because
I'll buy that book.
They were all over the top.
Yep.
I mean, one lady in one of our rooms, and she was a teacher, and this room, for some reason, whenever there were teachers in that room, the energy in that room just went crazy. I mean, there was a lot of active, almost poltergeist in that room, with teachers, and I don't know what it was. And whenever anybody booked a room and they were into the paranormal, I said, "Are you a teacher? Well, I've got to put you in Madrid," because that's where that room was. But one particular teacher, she was. We were out in the dining room, and it was late at night. It was around 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and we were all. Her husband was with us, and it was just a few of us there in the dining room, the parlor, and finally she comes out and she says, "Didn't you hear me screaming?" And I go, "No," and it's a good thing because we don't want to hear people screaming in their rooms, Right. It's private, But anyway, I was getting a little saucy there. But anyway, so what happened was that she was in that room and she got trapped in the bathroom, and someone had moved like a suitcase or something and blocked the door, and it got wedged against the air return on the floor. She could not get out, and she had to almost break down the wall, and and that moved all by itself.
Yep.
And trapping her in that room, and that got a little uneasy. And the next day she comes out, she says, you were in my room and you wrote something in my guest book, because we had guest books where they write comments. And she says, were you in my room writing something? And they go, why would I go in your room and write something? This is getting a little creepy. She says, because look what I found. And she went to the next spot and written, I still have that book. It says, yes, I did it.
Love it. I remember the story you told me with the what was it? The ghost hanging from the chandelier. Someone saw it through the room. It was a woman ghost or something like that. Or I can't remember if your husband or yourself told me that one. But I had an experience where the piano was. You remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
What did you experience there?
I got a couple voices on there as I was walking through the house. This was late at night too, because this house was free reign, open. I think I may have had the place to myself that night. It was my birthday. And then when I get back to my room, my items were moved around in the room that I did not place there. So things were on shelves and stuff, or like the what are they called? End tables that were ever in the room. Like things were moved to different places. And then in the morning I woke up, I go back to the piano area and some of my items were out there that I never brought back out there.
They did that a lot.
Yeah, you weren't there that day. I believe you were on travel.
What room were you in?
I was in the room with the really nice jacuzzi in there. Of course, I had to get.
That
was the bottom.
Except for one, they all had. Except for two, there were three rooms. Is it on the bottom?
It was the bottom floor. It had the really big shower walk-in. Yeah. So
Madrid. So that's the one that I told you that's where that lady had that experience in the bathroom. But upstairs we had a room called Cairo, and of course we're playful. I call that my Disney room because all the other ones are authentic to the period and to the country. So in Beijing, I had things there from, Indonesia and from Asia. So every room had a specific flair. But Cairo had one of those big sarcophagus, the big ones that they put CDs in. It's kind of phony, but it's kind of cool looking. So we put, there you go. See, I think cool person has one. So it has a pin, right, to open it up, and these things are heavy, and that pin you have to struggle to get it up. So one of my peoples that were not into the supernatural, she had to be a lawyer. She was getting ready, blow drying her hair in the morning, and also my husband hears her scream, and he runs upstairs, and this thing by itself, the pin came out and the thing opened up.
That room was beautiful too. I remember that room. That
room was very
Cairo
active.
Room, right?
Yeah, the Cairo. Yeah, the Cairo.
You had the Madrid. You had I believe it was more the. Yeah. You also have up there was the Asian style up there, wasn't there at the time?
Beijing, and then we had Paris. Yeah.
Loved Paris too. Loved it.
Yeah.
The whole place was great.
Yeah, very haunted.
And then when we filmed your other establishment, we had an odd one happen that night. We had one of our investigators in there, and we were upstairs doing the EVP sessions and filming at the same time, right? So we were up there at the time doing our part of it. So he had this machine downstairs. I think I forget what he called it, some kind of gamma ray meter, and it would go off with I forget how he explained it, but there was that other person that was there that night helping, and she had said that thing was going off the entire time. This was now in your dining room kitchen. You had the kitchen to the side, then there was the dining room, and then she said it was going off and scared her to death. But because we were all now upstairs with the film and then doing our sessions up there. So she was all downstairs by herself at the time. And there was some crazy stuff going on that night. And It was on point.
Well, the original owner of that house,
Right.
and the original owner of the Seven Sisters house, which is only 3 blocks away in the same strip, right? Same street. They were the co-founders of the local hospital. So there was an attachment between our house and that house, so
Right.
it was kind of cool. Yeah.
I loved it. And I swear I would have put $100 on it right now that you were in that house right now, because I can see the similarities with the color and the door. I'm like, are you back in Ocala?
Right,
You didn't tell me.
Let me give you another 30-second story here because it's so cool. Okay. So I lived in Ocala, in the historic area, right? In a Victorian. And it had and the foyer, remember the foyer when you walked in, there was a fireplace. And you don't find too many of those with a fireplace in the foyers. So it was 3 blocks from downtown Ocala, right? And it also is all the natural woodwork. It has so many similarities. So both houses, this house has a foyer it has a fireplace in the foyer. It's 3 blocks from downtown Hamilton, Ohio. But this is what makes it creepy. And then I'm going to go into the extra creepy factor. So in Ocala, it was originally owned by Dr. Hood, right? Guess who owned this house?
No.
Dr. Good. So we have Dr. Hood and Dr. Good.
Similarities, you think?
Yeah. And now one more creep factor way up here now. Ready? My mother's name is Matilda, right? Not a common name. Dr. Good, the one here, his mother's name was Matilda.
Wow.
Okay, it doesn't stop. So my husband's mother's name is Magdalena. Another name that's not real common.
Right.
Well, Dr. Good's wife's mother was called Magdalena.
Wow.
It's crazy.
How crazy is that?
That's crazy. You can't
make that shit up.
You can't.
I know. Genevieve, I actually have pictures of the Ocala place that we took that night, and I believe I still have. The Wayne is actually, he has the sizzle reel still, so I'll get it from him and I'll show you. And this place was gorgeous.
It's pretty.
When I visit you up there in time, Maria, I want to check out that place, and hopefully you have a good taco joint like we had in Ocala that night.
This was a little bit more haunted than the Hood house.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
My second apparition I've ever seen in my life was here.
Oh, wow.
I love it.
Wow. I've been staring at that window the entire time, see if I see a face pop in or something. You have me like enticed with this, but
we've had people see ghosts on the live stream.
Yeah.
We had a friend that saw a man behind me.
Really?
And she had phantom talking one night because we're recording at all times. So she went back to listen, and she heard a man's voice in her stream.
We had I had my very dear friend who was a medium, and as we were talking about the place I'd mentioned with the ghost that doesn't like me, we heard a man responding to her.
Yep. So it's all craziness, and we love it. Well, we're about out of time. All right, so Maria, I have one more question for both you and Courtney at the moment until we talk again with this, because we're gonna schedule out the guests as we move forward. If for somebody who's tuning in now, or for somebody who just wants to know why would this be just one amazing experience for them? Just in a few words.
I'll let because I'm a show and tell girl. I'm going to give you the real deal. Talk about it, Indeed. Courtney. I'll let you handle it because you made this trip.
So whether it's the Civil War battlefields that we're doing Labor Day or Ireland in April, this tour is to introduce you to people, almost face to face, even though they're spirits, and tell you their story, the good, the bad, and the darkness that consumes their life. And you're going to walk in their footsteps with them and get to know them. So you're going to have probably one of the most spiritual experiences and a whole new vision of wars and battles that you've never had before.
Well, there
Yeah,
you go.
what Courtney will tell you and what Courtney will experience with you and share with you, you will find in no history book.
Right.
Love
Yeah. Yeah.
Mysteriesadventuretours.com. Go check it out.
Yeah, and check out my friend's website. Courtney, would you tell them your other?
Yes, you can visit seasideshadows.com or CourtneyMcInvaleRearding.com.
I'll get them up for you tomorrow on this Real Talk with Dom one, and I'll put up all your websites for you tomorrow.
I appreciate that. We appreciate you guys for doing this. This is like 2 hours that you've given us of production time. And
yes, thank you.
And there's going to be many more. Like I said, I promise you, I don't want to keep harping on that one, but there's going to be many more of these on a lot of platforms, and we're going to push this as much as we can. And then we'll just go back and forth with it, Marie. We have plans. So, but all right. So, ladies, I just want to say my appreciation goes out to you, and thank you for everything you do. And you guys are some really cool things ahead, and let's make it happen. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for
lovely night. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here, and I'll give you a call like around tomorrow or something.
That's fine.
So I'm just gonna pull you down real quick.
What a
you can
fun
stay.
time we had. Thanks. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for sure.
Bye.
All right, pull you guys down real quick. Genevieve, that was amazing as always.
Awesome.
I know. Marie is just such a kind heart anyway, so I knew that this was going to be just a simple, fun adventure for tonight. All right, let everyone know where to get a hold of you, Genevieve.
So I am on the Creepy Parlor tomorrow night, 7 p.m. on WLFEDB.com, WLFEDB on Facebook. And I am also on JerseyShoreGhostTours.net. Sorry. And we've got Sinister Sisters every other week. And we've got all sorts of good stuff coming up, all sorts of fun stuff. And we've got BB3 TV.
We love it. We love it. We got a lot going on, Genevieve, and we'll just push forward. Next time you can find me on Friday night on Psychomantium 13, Psycho Bonnie DC, Roots Bleed Red, PBDC TV of Dom and Tom's World. And that actually also broadcasts over to the network we created over at BB3 TV. And you can find us always on a Monday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, Real Talk with Dom, where Genevieve and I will venture into a lot more paranormal. We really appreciate all of you guys in the comment section and who will watch on later dates, whoever missed it tonight. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it all. Genevieve, let's hit them with an outro as we do. Hey, Jen.
Hey, Dom.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And it's water tonight. You know that.
Seltzer.
All right. Indeed. All right. Outro. Here we go.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for joining Real Talk with Dom. You can catch us every Monday at 10 p.m. Eastern. Don't forget to follow, like, and share on Facebook.
Like and follow us on Facebook at WLFE DB Radio.